Go. I'll go with this. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and making it all the way through the week. So I'm Alex Vinyas. I work at CowDAO, and today I'm going to give a talk about the rise of programmable intents, which I guess it's a topic that has been picking up lately. And I've broken down the talk into 4 topics. First, a bit of history of CowDAO. Then, what are the current problems with intents, but more specifically with smart contract intents. Then I'm going to introduce you to the concept of ERC 1271 smart orders, and then finish with what we think is the era of programmable intents. So first, a little bit of brief history. CowDAO is a DAO that was spun out of Gnosis DAO in 2022, and it's on a mission to create the most innovative and protective user products on Ethereum, and soon, most likely, more layers as well. And there are 3 main products that belong to CowDAO. The first one is Cow Protocol, which is the leading intent-based trading protocol. It's similar to an AMM and a DEX aggregator, but with a fundamental and yet much better difference, because instead of just acting like a router, we add a thin batching layer on top of the AMMs and aggregators that allows us to combine multiple intents together and execute them in a single transaction. Not only from that, we're able to gain batching efficiencies, but we're also able to offer better optimizations in prices, because we actually, and that's where the name comes from, we're able to match users via coincidence of wants, which are peer-to-peer trades, and this ultimately leads to much better pricing and the best MEV protection, because there's no actual way to play with your transaction. Then the second product that was recently launching is CowAMM, which is the first MEV capturing AMM. And CowAMM allows liquidity providers to protect themselves from arbitrageurs that take advantage of them by connecting their trades with centralized exchange and then tapping onto their liquidity at a much staler price. This is called LBR, and CowAMM protects liquidity providers from LBR by leveraging smart intents, in this case ERC 1271, to trigger the transactions to actually protect the liquidity providers. And lastly, MEV Blocker, which is the leading MEV protection RPC on Ethereum. And this product was mainly created for those, let's say, lost souls that don't trade on CowSwap and trade still elsewhere, that then if they don't want to have the best protection, then at least they have some additional protection guarantees that come from CowDAO as well. But today I'm only going to focus on Cow Protocol and CowAMM, because the talk is about intents and not just about MEV. But how was Cow Protocol designed to work? Well, Cow Protocol was designed to work from the beginning for all different types of users. The first one was for retail, right? Because the whole idea with the type of account abstraction that Cow Protocol has is that nowadays it's very complicated to make a transaction on Ethereum. You have to know what the right gas price is. You have to be very informed into where is the best AMM pool to trade, and many different aspects to take into consideration. So Cow Protocol was designed with this in mind, in a way so that users, instead of actually creating the transaction for themselves, they just create an intent to trade, and a professional party called the solvers are the ones in charge of adding all this complex technical stuff that blockchains have. The second one is for smart contract wallets or smart contracts in general, because until Cow Protocol, the standard was that with a smart contract, the moment you created the trade, you actually had to compromise the exact amount of tokens that you wanted to get out, which opened your trade to MEV, because people already knew from the transaction the amount that, the lowest amount that you were willing to take. And not only that, but because you are a smart contract wallet and you usually have more or less at least 3 signers or 2 out of 3, you had to spend time to connect with the other signers to execute the transaction. So this time that elapsed between the actual transaction creation and the final submission or execution of the trade also led to suboptimal prices. And lastly, because of DAOs, because DAOs have been kind of the promise of Ethereum, but they haven't truly unleash their powers, because if you add, because if a DAO is a smart contract, not only do you have the same problems as the smart contract wallets, but you also have the addition of governance, which 10x the problems, because then you have to at least, wait 5 days until the proposal is gone. So it's just a horrible experience, because if you already craft the swap 7 days in advance, then you cannot leave the door open for the market to completely exploit you, because it's kind of very well anticipated, like what you want to get. And the talk focuses on these two, because these two are the ones that so far have suffered the most, because with EOAs, it has actually been somewhat easy to create intents. So what is the problem, right? The problem with the smart contracts is that there is no way to actually create the signature in the same way with EOAs. But there are two main problems. There are execution issues and technical issues. But from the execution side, as I said, right, you have the MEV problem. You have to compromise your minimum amount already beforehand. You also have to gather all the signers of the transaction, which delays to the process. And lastly, you also don't have the on-chain guarantees, because there's no one to, especially if you can't play this off-chain system, there's no easy way to add the guarantees within your transaction that is going to trigger how you want to do it. And then if you're a DAO, then if you have the governance process, then all these problems kind of escalate even more. But then you also have the technical issue, right? Because EOAs can create EIP 7112 and ETH type of signatures. You can actually create an approval transaction via an intent that authorizes this third party to kind of do this computation of chain and submit your transaction on your behalf. But if you're a smart contract, because the smart contracts don't have signatures, you don't have private keys, you're not able to create the actual signature, right? So then the smart contracts or any DAO is actually forced to trade on the on-chain route. And at Causa we used to do this via the pre-signature route, which basically is just creating a transaction that submits all the parameters of your orders on-chain, who then an off-chain system picks up. But this is not problematic, but it's a worse UX, because then you actually have to pay for the transaction to place the order, and you cannot leverage the advantage of intents like an EOA. So how is this get fixed? Well, with ERC 1271, we enabled the smart orders, and this is actually rising a lot, because it opens up a lot of possibilities, right? And ERC 1271 is basically a smart contract order interactive signature verification. So instead of using e-recover, which is what is used by regular orders, you used a function called isValid signature. And basically what this function does is that it allows your smart contract to actually authorize someone else to place the order on your behalf. Not only that, but because you're the smart contract, you can actually add guarantees on top of your order, where is the block time that you don't want the swap to execute until, check the Oracle price, or don't execute this swap until the current balance is whatever. And this is very interesting, because then it truly enables the smart contracts to actually place intent systems. Because the way it works is then you have this off-chain sort of bot called a watchtower, or called, whatever you want to call it, that basically acts as your butler, let's say, from the smart contract. And what this butler does, or watchtower, is just placing the order inside the COW protocol order book, and then it's passed on to the solvers, and then whatever the solver wins submits the actual transaction. And then at the moment that the transaction is actually validated, your smart contract is being called to this signature, to the isValid signature, kind of hey, someone else posted this transaction on your behalf according to your parameters. Are you okay with it? Yes or no? And then if the watchtower has behaved correctly, because then it's kind of read all the parameters that the smart contract wanted, it should be correct, and the smart contract would say yes, and then we have the swap, or we have the intent already placed. So the first use of smart orders that CowSwap or COW protocol implemented was actually the ETH flow, right? In CowSwap at the beginning, you couldn't sell ETH directly. Why? Because ETH is the native token of the chain, and it's not an ERC20. So you actually have to wrap it into WETH. And even though that's, quite a simple thing to do, just wrap your ETH, there were still many people that complained and wanted to wanted to trade ETH directly. So we developed this intermediary contract that leverages smart orders to basically allow users this. And basically the flow is that the user sends the ETH directly to this intermediary contract. And then this intermediary contract is the one that's connected to the watchtower who actually ignites all the transactions. It basically like picks up the information that the user submitted via CowSwap. It initiates the order to wrap the ETH, and then it places the smart order into the Cow protocol order book, and then Solver compete. And at the moment of like submission on chain, then the swap happens, and the user gets in this case the DAI that they wanted. The second use case was developed by Yearn in collaboration with the Cow Grants program, and it was actually a specific use case for unleashing like the governance DAO powers. And this was the product that ENS leveraged. Well, ENS, Aave, and Nexus Mutual have already leveraged this product. And basically, is the idea that you can precondition the swap for your governance kind of vote or your governance process. And the whole idea is, again, what I said before, right? If I want to make, like currently, either you appoint a treasury management if you're a DAO, and then kind of like the treasury managers have full control of the swaps that they want to execute in the treasury, but there's no really like more opinion within the DAO because you kind of give full power within the certain amount of assets of the treasury to that treasury team. But now with Milkman, what you can do is say like, okay, we're going to create this proposal. And because this proposal, unlike others, uses ERC-1271 and doesn't compromise on the exact amount of the tokens that we want, then we can still go through governance and get like the most optimal price. Why? Because the way that basically this works is that you say, okay, you specify an oracle price and you specify the time preference that you want the trade executed. So basically what you're saying is like, hey, I want to sell 10,000 ETH and using this oracle price. And this is going to tell me that like at the moment that the governance, if in case the proposal passes and the swap has to be executed, then this bot is going to submit this transaction to the Cow protocol order book, and the guarantees that the DAO has is that at the moment of settlement, right, it's going to ask this is valid signature, hey, this bot proposed this order to sell 10,000 ETH, and if not mistaken, this is within the current price that you wanted, which can be like, I don't know, 1% of whatever Uniswap pool you decide, or 1% of, like, not to be farther than 1% than a Chainlink Oracle or whatever Oracle you want to pick. And then this way, it's the allowing smart contracts to actually like put the swaps back into the governance process without having to worry about like signatures, compatibility, or MEV, and still getting the best possible price. But the problem is that these examples are single smart orders, and they have drawbacks. The first drawback is that they're like quite costly in terms of gas because you have to, do so many computations and do the on-chain guarantees. They're a little bit costly. Like they're not the most optimized like gas settlement. The second one is that they require the money to go to this intermediary contract who can then like talk with the watchtower. And of course, this is not like a major drawback, but I don't know, if you're a DAO and you're not very risky, you might not want to have to deal with sending the funds to this intermediary contract. And lastly is that they're single order based, right? If you want to automate any process as a DAO or you want to do recurring swap, it's going to be very annoying to have to sign the transaction or like craft the transaction every single time. So this is where the programmable intents come to play, right? In Cow protocol, we created a programmatic order framework, which is a conditional smart order framework that allows you to indicate many intents to trade with a single transaction created in the beginning, right? And the beautiful thing is that you can create without any trust assumptions, and you can actually like add these on-chain guarantees. For the moment, it's very focused on the Safe wallet. So this is interesting because right now also like soon, next week, the Safe is going to release the token. So there's a lot of things to see how the market behaves. And there are a lot of new things that you can do. And actually, like the programmatic order framework allows the Safe to become a first-class citizen for trading because you can actually turn it into, I don't know, but people would say an AI agent because you can kind of condition all the orders or all the different strategies that you want to trigger. And then with the help of this bot, it will just basically use the funds in your Safe to actually trade on your behalf since it has your intent permission. And we're already using this for TWAP. For example, in TWAP, this is the architecture for TWAP. If you leverage the safe, you have basically this middle contract, which is the composable cow, which is the programmatic order one. And here is the famous watchtower that we have, right? And in TWAP, which is time-weighted average price, in case anyone is aware, you want to create a set of recurring orders. So like say, I don't know, buy ETH during 10 times for the next 6 hours. And the current process that you could do that is that you would have to sign the 10 orders. But with the smart programmatic order framework intents, you can do is simply create this major intent to thread that then is gonna give the permission to this watchtower to actually create all the orders on your behalf. And basically, like, the flow would be the same, right? You create the order, then the complete order structure, the conditional order is deposited in here, which can be like any decentralized storage network, IPFS, like whatever you want. Or you can also skip that if you run your own watchtower. And then the watchtower is the one in charge of creating the discrete orders at the time that your smart contract has specified. And then from here, the watchtower just posts the order via an API directly on the order book, and then from here downwards is as normal as any like regular order on CowSwap. This is also very similar because in CowAMM, it also leverages the proof of the programmatic order framework, because in this case, basically, like, you deposit your tokens that you want to LP on your safe, and you do it at 50-50. And from there, you specify the watchtower, which price checker or oracle you're going to compare or you're going to reference your pool from. And basically, what the watchtower is going to be doing at all time is comparing if the position in your safe is completely balanced 50-50 based on the reference price that you set. And in the case that it's not balanced, then it's going to propose a trade on the CowSwap order book so that the assets are rebalanced again. And the beautiful thing is that once you've done that, you don't have to worry about this, because you can have the watchtower basically rebalance your position at all times. But another way in which actually like the intents come to play is that now also, if you don't want to have the watchtower, or if you're a solver and you're more advanced than the rest and you want to actually take advantage of these several CowAMM pools, what you can do is once you place the order, once you're aware that this liquidity pool exists, you can just treat them like any other AMM and liquidity pools, and basically leverage the CowAMM as a liquidity pool with much better rates. Because the only way that this liquidity can be accessed is either through the solvers or through the CowSwap badge. And therefore, if you as a solver are indexing this liquidity, you can offer better rates for those orders that are coming through CowSwap. And then from there, it's the same as like the TWAP or the EOAs, right? It's just the transaction gets submitted at the settlement contract, and then in the moment that the settlement contract actually pushes the transaction on chain, then basically like your smart contract wallet or smart contract validates if you're okay, and like this trade that is being proposed on your behalf is accurate based on the conditions or the guarantees that you established. So what are the use cases for the programmatic order framework? The first one is kind of like a major one, like a fee crop recollection. If you are a DAO that has to like collect fees from swaps or from any other different activity, you can actually use this framework to automate like a weekly or monthly swap to simply like, once the balance of this contract hits a certain threshold, execute the swap into whatever token I want, and then send it elsewhere so that we're always secure. Then, there's not more funds in the wallet that we want to, in the smart contract that we want to not put in danger. The second one, for example, is payroll. If you're a DAO and you want to automate the payroll of your DAO contributors, you can actually create a swap order that says, okay, for the next 12 months, at the end of each month, basically create a swap that grabs my native token, sell it to a stablecoin, and automatically distribute it to the contributors. And the beautiful thing is that also because the programmatic order framework uses Merkle-3 for storing the conditional orders, you can actually create unlimited discrete orders. Not only that, but it's very easy to update, because then you can just replace the the new order with just a new Merkle tree. And then, for example, in the case of contributors, if when you created the swap, you had 12 contributors, but by the 6th month, you only have 7, instead of having to ditch the entire order and create a new one, you can just update the new Merkle tree, and the Watchtower will pick it up, and it will know that now we're only like 5 contributors. The other one is the case of, for example, CowMM, but this can be taken like much further apart. It's basically portfolio rebalancing, right? Like you have a strategy within your Safe wallet, and you want to say, I don't know, in the case like keep the portfolio 50-50 at all times based on this price reference, or if you want to do like multiple assets, you can also do it. I mean, this is different than CowMM, but you could do it. Basically say like, I want to assign weights to this portfolio, and as long as one weight becomes more valuable, like one type of asset becomes more valuable than the other, just basically like rebalance so that the weights are constant at all times. Then also, you can do like collateral position manager, right? If I have a CDP open right now and I'm here and I don't have some sort of script or bot that uses that is in place, maybe I'm gonna get wrecked because I have my private keys and I'm here in Dubai and I don't wanna like even have to think about it. But with the programmatic order framework, you can have the guarantee that, you know, as soon as certain thresholds are hit, the bot, in this case the Watchtower, will just trigger the transaction on your behalf, and you can just enjoy calmly wherever you are. Then TWAP, which is the case that I already explained. And then also you can do like conditional orders such as a stop loss, right? Hey, again, if you want to protect yourselves from volatility, but you don't want to have to carry the computer at all times, you can basically just program the order to trigger based on certain outside conditions, and the Watchtower will do actually the job for you. So where's the conclusion of all this? Well, the conclusion is that intents are entering like mass adoption, because the programmatic order framework expands the way in which intents can operate within smart contracts, which ultimately is kind of the dream, because we've always within Ethereum talked about like the programmability of an auto execution of all these kind of financial transactions. But with EOAs, we have somewhat achieved that, but not with the smart contracts. And the beautiful thing is that then with the smart contracts, you can also place simultaneous conditional intents all in one go. And that, in combination with cow hooks, basically is the allowed to, it gives you the ability to express an intent in combination with your swap, right? And the good thing is that then also it allows to make it like such interaction with intents recurrent. Because basically with cow hooks, you can add like pre and post interactions to your swap intent. And this would allow you to, for example, say like, okay, bridge stake a token, or re-stake a token, swap, then stake it again, or claim a token, swap it into the coin that I want to put again into the LP, and then re-put the position. Or mint, swap, approve, like you can add basically any sort of interaction that you want in before and after your swap. So this allows to kind of push the intent language or intent kind of market beyond just swaps. And yeah, the sky's the limit. If you're interested in integrating intents, please reach out at bd@cow.fi. And if you're interested in building, Cow Grants is there for you, ready to give grants. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We have a couple minutes for questions. If anyone has questions, raise your hand.
It was so clear that no one has questions.
Very clear. Thank you so much. No question? Okay. So we've heard quite a lot about intent today. Oh, question?
It seems there is a lot of work to do. So is there any expected timeline to reach usability for the intents in CowSwap?
I mean, this is already live. Like you can already use this today. The problem, okay, well, yeah, it's already live from the engineering point of view. What is missing right now, and we're working on it, is the UI. So basically, we're expecting that by end of this quarter, if not Q3, that you'll be able to actually very easily within the UI kind of combine these intents within your swaps as well. But technically, it has been already live for a long time. You just needed to know a little bit to code, which not that many people, so it's so tricky.
I was wondering a bit about the sustainability. Like, do you guys see people trying to attack this model you've got? Have you seen people trying to take advantage, like trying to break your model?
So far, no. I mean, in general, the most type of attacks that we get is more like spamming to clog the system, like just sending many orders. But in general, that's basically it. Because at least with the Watchtower, you can actually make it very private because currently there are very few Watchtowers running, and like the core team like has one running, but this is completely free for anyone to run. So if you're like, paranoid and don't want to rely on centralization, you can actually run your Watchtower and make your orders completely like private to you. And then therefore there's no way, because it's within your local storage or your local system or setup that you have, that the information of the orders are there. So there's no easy way to break it.
Right, but for example, you could be DDoSed.
Yeah, exactly. But you can DDoS, but you DDoS the cow protocol. I couldn't DDoS you because if you're running it within your own system, I don't know where that is. Right?
Well, unless you do find me, but yes, I assume it's going to be hard. Okay, I have another sustainability question. When do you expect to run out of cow jokes?
I don't know. Keep on going for the moment. Keep on moving.
Hi. I just want to make sure I understood what makes it programmatic. As far as I understood, you're making intents that are conditional on smart contract values, as well as intents that are time dependent, like recurring or occur at a certain time.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is that instead of treating the orders like single, like only like taking care of one case, you can basically create like a conditional tree of order that then has n discrete orders, that these discrete orders behave according to guarantees that you want to do. So for example, like, I don't know, unless balance is above this certain threshold and price is not this, don't trigger. And then this is replicated for each kind of discrete order that you have created within the conditional order.
Yeah, but the way it's programmed, is the condition like general? It's any condition, like any value in a smart contract?
Yeah. This is like you can sort of think of like the whole point of the framework is that, we have some implementations, but the whole idea was for any developer to kind of come up with their own conditions and focus on their own like condition logic. And then like the framework takes care of all the rest in terms of submitting to cow protocol order book, connecting, and then putting all the parameters or like the order digest in the correct way for the protocol to kind of kick it in and like pass it on to solvers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, one last question.
So this is actually a follow-up to the previous question, that if everybody can write their own conditions, how do you deal with the halting problem? Like, how can you keep the complexity of evaluating the conditions in check?
Well, the conditions that are, it's basically, I guess, like the harder you make it, the more you have to signal the Watchtower to take into consideration. And then maybe there's like, I guess we haven't really like tested with 1,000 conditions, no? Because I don't know if you want to make a financial order with 1,000 conditions. But technically, like, this is handled by the Watchtower. So if your Watchtower can like, absorb the amount of conditions that you've put, then there's no limitations. But maybe this is more technical and